Okay viewers, I decided to set up a little stage out here with some of our props and an MGM piece of steel and take you through a stage involving my truck that I would prefer to see in a match. Now keep in mind, this is not IDPA sanctioned, these are my targets, and it's a little bit different rules than what we saw at the match. Number one, when I'm done, I'm gonna top my gun off, and when everything's under control, I'm gonna reholster. I'm not gonna unload and show clear like we saw in the match. That can be a very bad habit in the real world. Another thing is, notice the paper targets have the letter A, B, and C on the heads. That's going to become key because there's little cards on the steering wheel that you flip up, and that tells you which target to engage first. This is after the timer goes off in the beep. That means that particular target is engaging you, have to engage them first. The first time we run it through, I'm going to bail out of the vehicle, go to the rear to take cover, and I'm going to engage the other targets as they expose themselves to me. Next time, we're going to do it, but I'm going to stay in the truck through the whole thing. Flip up the card, engage that target, and then engage the rest of the targets in the order that I see them as they expose themselves to me as a threat. Remember, the first time I bail out of the vehicle, second time I stay in the vehicle. The theory behind that is there may be a time and a place where you have to bail out of the vehicle and seek cover, or you may have to deal with the problem inside the vehicle. Wish me luck. Okay, before we start, let me take you through the scoring. This is my target, my show, my rules. All right, remember, not IDPA sanctioned. First off, if I shoot and any of the rounds go inside this outer circle, -0 added to the time, or in the head box. Either way, I don't get any penalty. Those are shots where they need to be. If I throw a shot out into here, it's 1 second per shot. And if I happen to throw it and miss it entirely and throw it out on the ground, it's 5 seconds per shot. So it behooves me to make sure I have accurate hits on target, just like in the real world. Remember my motto, speed is fine, accuracy is final. Okay gang, during the break, my crew rearranged the cards so I don't know what order they're in. I'm gonna go ahead and load and make ready. Time to go hot. Stand by. Okay, everything's under control. I'm gonna go ahead and holster. Now let's check the targets. All right, time was 12.48. B target was first. That was the card I flipped. I got 2 shots on this and I bailed out of the vehicle. Remember, that was the scenario. And as I withdrew to the rear of the vehicle to take cover, I took A, which was the next target that exposed itself to me, and then I shot through the open window of the truck and got the 2 shots on the MGM steel. Came back to the most advantageous position in the rear of the vehicle for cover purposes, basically putting the most vehicle between me and the last target, and I engaged the C target right over the corner. Good run. Frankly, I wouldn't want to do it again. That's the kind of scenario I like to do, to throw a little variable in there, and it breaks up that sequence. You don't have the follow the leader type thing that we saw at the Carolina Cup. Now we're gonna do the same thing. Crew's gonna switch the cards again, and now I'm gonna do it static, whereas I can't get out of the vehicle. For whatever reason, I'm trapped or I don't have the opportunity to get out, and I have to engage all the targets from behind the driver's seat. Okay, time to score it up. Okay, gang, 7.61 is the time. Now, when I flipped the card, the first target I had to engage that was shooting at me was the steel. So I had to shoot it through this gap, and I went ahead and proceeded and engaged target B, target A, and then went back over to target C. I can already tell from here I cleaned it. So that's my time added to the time from the first run, and that would be my combined score. If you're gonna run this in a match, then the next shooter would come up, you run them through, and you keep the scores combined and add it on down the line. Okay, to wrap this up, remember there's only so many things you can do when you're shooting at paper targets or even steel targets that don't shoot back. But let's try to keep it in a real world context. One of the reasons why I make sure I do a good scan and assess around this area and behind me and top the gun off is to make sure I don't build a training scar of immediately unloading my gun and showing clear for a range officer. We've seen that numerous times, and I'm convinced that can cause bad habits in the real world. Remember, if you happen to be running a stage like this or a match per se, try to keep it fresh for each shooter, because if not, the next guy coming up can kind of learn and gain things out by the guy that goes ahead of him. Remember, that doesn't reflect the real world. And last but not least, one of my pet peeves, always try to use a gun that reflects something that you would use in the real world, whether it's concealed carry or for duty use. Don't have sights or modifications or a light trigger pull that you wouldn't actually carry and depend your life on. There's no reason to be using it in a match. Remember, that can add to a training scar, can bite you at the worst possible time. Hey, thanks for watching the Vickers Tactical YouTube channel. To subscribe, click here, and to watch some of my favorite videos, click here. Have a good one. LAV out.